What's up, everybody? My name is Joshua Yoder, and welcome to another episode of the Joshua Yoder Show. Today, I get to talk about 25 years of the Nintendo GameCube, arguably one of my favorite systems and one of the best systems in history in video games. And to join me in this nerd out, if you will, is my identical twin, Chad Yoder. What's up, my twin?
Hello, my twin, and greetings, fellow life forms.
Indeed. Yes, can you believe it's been, well, soon to be nearly 25, it's almost 25 years. This, by the end of midway of November, will be the official 25 years of Nintendo GameCube. Can you believe it's been that long already, my twin?
No, and the fact that just like the Nintendo 64, it's one of the most talked about gaming systems ever.
Well, we're definitely going to get into the details of that here shortly, but it's just crazy to me to think, like, makes us feel old.
Well, I don't know about that. I could say experienced, but I would say old.
Oh no, man. I mean, this system was just, I don't know, it was definitely one of a kind. And well, like I said, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of this here in a minute. But once again, my twin, thank you for coming on this show and, nerd out with me.
Of course, it's always fun to be here, my twin.
Yeah, but let's talk about the history of the Nintendo game here. The Nintendo GameCube here, real quick, my twin.
All right.
The GameCube originally came out in September in Japan. Originally, it didn't come to our shores here in North America until November 18th of 2001. But man, tell you what, though, like I said, we're going to get into it here in a minute, but it's just the overall essence of this, of the GameCube was so much fun to do. Um, it was one of the first of many systems that started this whole online craze, which, like Xbox and PlayStation, with Fantasy Star Online, it sold from its span. It sold. Let's see here, it sold from when it was discontinued in February of 2007, nearly 20 years ago. It had worldwide 22 million units sold.
Holy cow, that's incredible.
Yeah, no, and we were one of those 22 million people that bought it.
Yes, totally worth it.
No, without question, it was definitely a fun system to get. And before we get into the games in here, my twin, can you guess the number one seller for the Nintendo GameCube?
Oh man, that's a tough one. They've had so many. I mean, obviously there's been a bunch of Mario games, but like there was also Resident Evil 4, Super Smash Brothers Melee. Man, I can't tell. There's been so many good games.
You actually just said it. Mm-hmm.
I did?
Yes, you did.
Was it Super Smash Brothers Melee?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I should have known. But it was hard to pick number one considering they had so many good games.
It was. I mean, it definitely was, like I said, at least in my humble opinion, was the most reliable of the three systems between Xbox, PlayStation 2, and the GameCube. I think the GameCube was definitely the more reliable of the system. And to be honest, let's get to talking about that for a second, though, my twin, because when the GameCube first came out, now when we first saw it, it was through a TV show called Extended Play, which most people know as X Play. But when we saw that GameCube launch special, it was wow. Like, it was definitely not what I was expecting, because remember, they were coming off a major victory with N64, in my humble opinion. And this system really, honestly, Chad, what was your first impressions of the system?
I couldn't believe how small it was because again, it was called Nintendo GameCube. But when you think of like gaming systems, you think of like these giant, like long rectangled computer systems, or some are gaming systems, some that could play like discs and like tapes and cassettes. The GameCube was the first time we ever had like mini discs, and it was very smaller. Like you could pretty much hold it like a handbag or something with a handle on the back. It was nothing what I was expecting when it first came out.
It certainly wasn't. It was definitely a kind of a bit of a surprise for me as well when we first saw it, because I always looked at it as a little purple lunchbox. It's got a little handle, and like you said, you mentioned the disc. These discs were not like the Xbox and the PlayStation at the time, and I guess maybe that's Nintendo's way of like slowly working their way into the CD market. Because remember, or the N64 was probably like near the end of the whole cartridge thing when it comes to video gaming, because a lot of the home console stuff, we're using cartridges still at that point in time. But by the time the GameCube came around, the CDs, were really taking over, and yeah, it was definitely interesting to see the small discs, which some people liked it, some people didn't, but I enjoyed it, and a lot of great games came out of it.
Oh yes, lots of great games. I mean, like again, like we said this earlier, it was one of the most reliable systems we ever played. It had like it lasted much longer. You could play hours on that game without having to hit the restart button or even when it was overheated. Like most times, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the PlayStation, I love the Xbox, but there were days where it would glitch a lot. With the GameCube, you could go hours without having like hours and days without having to hit the restart button. Like if you could just keep the temperature down, you could easily play that game forever with the GameCube. Even when
Yeah.
even if it was damaged, you could still run very well.
Yeah, and like even like whether it be really cold or really warm, that thing was still running strong. And I was like, and to be honest with you, by the time its run was over and they launched the Wii, he, I honestly thought the GameCube made Nintendo the top dog in terms of video game companies. Which this is just all my humble opinion.
Well, you have right. Like maybe by the end of its run, it did. But when it first came out, a lot of people won't know this. But it didn't have a lot of games to start off with. It didn't start off strong at first, but then I think once a lot of the games started coming out and people started to enjoy it, the GameCube really built momentum back real quick, like way before the Wii even was announced. So I think it definitely proved they could stand the test of time. I mean, even when it took a while to get a lot of popular games for fans to want to play.
Well, it was definitely one of the criticisms of the GameCube when it first came out was there wasn't many launch titles, and it was heavily criticized for that. But honestly, I think it's like the old saying: "It's not how you start; it's how you finish." And the GameCube certainly finished strong, in my humble opinion.
Well, it did. I think one of the problems was is like I think it was the first time because normally when Nintendo has a new system out, it always has like a Mario game ready to go. I think this was like the first time they never really did that. Like it took like maybe another year or two, I believe, before a Mario game came out. I might be wrong.
Yeah, but it definitely, like I said, definitely made up for it because there's been a ton of good games, and let's talk about one of them that we love to play, and that was the highest selling GameCube game, the Super Smash Brothers Melee. Man, was that game fun! Over 7 million copies worldwide were sold.
Whoo, man, that's incredible. And I'm not surprised looking back on it because obviously the first this wasn't the first Super Smash Brothers game ever made. That was back in the Nintendo 64. But I think what made this version Melee like the highest like seller was how well they updated the arenas. Like for example, obviously one of our favorite places to play on that game was in the Pokemon Stadium, and it had the ability to change locations. Like you could just be a regular stadium to like fire or water or earth. There was like so many different level like stages you could put on that, and then adding the other elements of like fighting on the Star Fox ship, having the all-star cast of characters in general from Nintendo's history. Incredible. It's just some of the best features you'll ever have.
And honestly, it was simple. It was just a simple side-scrolling fighting game where you and like a bunch of your friends could just get together and just have the time of your life playing it. It was such a fun game. And like you said, they added characters, and each stadium had its own unique ability. Obviously, with uh, history of Nintendo characters, so they designed it each based on the characters that they had. But it's like I personally like the Star Fox ships that you can get on. You can fight on there. And you can just knock somebody straight out into the atmosphere. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, and not to mention, like obviously they had the items of weapons and Pokeballs, and then like the special features, like the super sudden death matches that they made, where everyone was like at 100% hit points, and you just go flying instantly.
Oh, I think what you meant to say was we were at 300% damage and one hit just launched us into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think. But what I loved about it the most was you, me, and some of our friends. We would always like have one specific item to use, and we would always try to just chuck that like a bomb at each other all the time.
Remember? Well, no, actually, remember, or we tried to do that, and then we had like nothing but bombs like that are already lit, and they're all running around. So we're all trying to avoid that while trying to hit each other, and all somehow like, yeah, I knocked you out, and all of a sudden the ball went off like crap, and I go flying. I'm like, darn it! It was just chaos, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh no, it was a lot of fun, man. Like now, obviously, we were just doing that to have a quick matchup, but like it was still pretty enjoyable. I wish we could still do that to this day.
No, I agree. It's definitely a fun game to play, and it definitely does not surprise me that it's the number one selling game for the system.
Yes, it was, and I think, and actually, another cool thing I think I liked about the GameCube because it actually kind of like recharged a game franchise that had been around for a while, but just never got like a huge moment, and that would be Resident Evil 4. Or
Well, I think Resident Evil was popular before 4, but I will say this though, Resident Evil 4 certainly, was a big factor in the success of the GameCube, which a lot of people may not know this, but Resident Evil 4 actually originally debuted on the GameCube, not the PlayStation.
yeah, but yeah, it was like one of its first games, I believe. But like, well, one of the things I liked about Resident Evil 4 is obviously, now I'm not saying like the Resident Evil franchise wasn't popular even before it came out. I'm just saying that when it came out, it really helped change a lot of the things that they did in the past. Because obviously, one of the things that a lot of people hated about the Resident Evil games was the controls, and you had a hard time like aiming and trying to take out the zombie. With Resident Evil 4, it totally changed that. Like you have much better aiming system, like you have better ways of hitting your target. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah, but I still think they kept the essence of what made Resident Evil special was you have to search for ammo, you got to be careful with how you use your ammo, how much you waste, and also me being a writer myself, I really enjoyed the story of Resident Evil 4. Of
Oh
course,
yeah, the
you get to
story
play,
is incredible.
yeah, and one of the characters, honestly, one of the best characters I think in the franchise history, Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong, like those two were always great together when it comes to storytelling, and Leon just an amazing character in itself. And I love the whole concept of Resident Evil 4 where you're going after this occult like evil group organization that are basically trying to turn people into like possessed zombies, if you will. It's just the whole point of it, just the whole premise of it, and the action, and just the way they came up with monsters is just everything about it was just so much fun.
Yeah, I definitely love like the puzzle solving was pretty good too. Like you have to be like in certain, like you have to have certain items just to get to certain areas. And like you didn't have to like things that you feel like aren't going to be helpful now could back near the end of the game could be very helpful. It was so well done on with how they set up that game, and I think I think my favorite part about the game though was that like I had to be like some of the weapons you could use in that. Like I love the shotgun in Resident Evil 4 because like you can actually hit more than one target when you're aiming and firing. Like I've managed to take down 3 people with my first shot with the shotgun. It was that powerful.
Yeah, and also you have to conserve your ammo. You got to be careful like how you use it, and you got to be smart. Which I always I respected that about the Resident Evil series is that you got to use your head. You can't just go guns blazing. It's not like a Doom or something. You know what I mean? You got to use your head.
And also like pacing too, because like there was like I think Resident Evil. I think this was the first time they did it with Resident Evil 4. Was like you had certain like cutscenes with button mash moments. Yeah, you keep your hands on the controller, and if something comes up, you have to pray for time to press a button, or else your character could get ahead.
Yeah, and also just the whole scary zombies, and like I said before, the concept of like this evil cult like group that's using like this formula to turn people into like ravaged zombies and just monsters, and they think they're doing like this religious cause, like it's supposed to be like we're doing something special when it really is not. And of course, as always, Leon Kennedy is an amazing character and always fun to watch. But speaking of games, my twin, one of the things that a lot of people loved about the GameCube was the debut of a couple franchises that I have. Well, one of them is still going on. I wish the other one. I can't remember the last time they made one, but this featured the debut of Pikmin and Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah, Honestly, I preferred Pikmin over Animal Crossing because like I just love that it was like silly and ridiculous, but the fact that you had like these like little plant soldiers under your command, like you just fight enemies and just build up more are on there. Like it was probably like a really enjoyable game to play.
Well, yeah, and Animal Crossing was a lot of fun too. I always thought it was like The Sims that, but they meet with animals. Like you get to create like these humanoid animal creatures, and you try to just live a normal life and all this other stuff. And it's like you can constantly, like you can constantly play it, like it's never ending, and it's like wow. It kind of it's kind of like a fun way, almost like The Sims, but I think it's definitely more kid friendly than what The Sims are. That's for sure. But uh, but yeah, those two franchises made their debuts, and going back to Pikmin, I really like that game. When I first played it on the demo, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun," and and it started 2001, and they made three so far, or excuse me, four. No, I take that back. They made four. The last one was with the Nintendo Switch, so it's still hanging in, or with Pikmin Finder being in the last one uh, they made. But that was such a clever idea, and I just loved. And I also loved how they were different colors, so they were used for different purposes. So I thought that was pretty clever in how they did that. Just so simple, but yet fun, and you just got to try to work together with what you had there.
Yeah, and I also love the fact that like you can use like defeated enemies and you send them into your spaceship where you can create more pigmen. And I always thought that was kind of clever. Like, and obviously, like each pigman was different in its own way. Like some were faster, some were stronger, some had like special like attacks when they hit enemies. It was such a unique variety for such a simple, fun loving game.
Yeah, and that actually kind of brings me to my next question. Before we get back to the awesome games, which they got plenty, so we got plenty to talk about, my twin. But I kind of want to go over something with you, my twin. One of the things I will say about the Nintendo systems, and really just Nintendo in general, which I don't understand why people made such a big deal about this or a fuss. But at this point, prior to the GameCube, Nintendo had this family friendly image where they're very, like we said before, like the Pikmin and Animal Crossing games. But people took it like it was like a sign of weakness. And everybody was saying, like, well, they struggled with, their family friendly imagery during the late 90s and most of the 2000s. But then when the GameCube came along, they came out with a lot of mature, you know, games, and a lot of them were highly successful. Well, games like, and we'll talk more about these later, but like Metroid Prime, you had the Eternal Darkness game as well, and of course Resident Evil 4. But the thing that always kind of bugged me was I was like, well, first of all, what's so wrong with creating family friendly entertainment? I'm all for it. If you want to do something a little bit more edgy and more adult, that's fine. But why is it such a bad thing that people wanted to make a family friendly game where like we can all just play together with our kids? Like I always looked at it as like just a way to introduce kids to video gaming. I never understood why people thought it was such a bad thing that they wanted to be a family friendly image.
Well, again, this is only just my mere just a pure opinion, but I think one of the reasons is they feel like Nintendo should start like trying to do different types of games that are out there. But it's like, I think what makes Nintendo so awesome is that like they know what works and they know how to keep it fresh throughout the years to come. Obviously, because and it shows because one, they're still in business and they've created some of the best systems of all time. And I think some fans don't realize that. Like you said, like if you want to do something like that's a little bit more brutal and like more serious like type games, that's fine. But long term, people would prefer these because they could just use like a nice relaxing day, a stress reliever from if they had like a rough day at work or something, and just enjoy a game and have fun. Fun.
Yeah, and I guess my point that I'm trying to say though is like people are like, well, why can't Nintendo just make more mature games? I'm like, well, there's PlayStation, you got the Xbox, like, and there's computer games that have that. Like, I don't understand why you think they got to be just like everyone else. Like, if they want to be just mainly this, then that should be accepted too. And I agree with what you said though. Like, I think long term, I think most people kind of just want to chill and just play a fun little game. And personally, I think that's fine. I think that's, and to be honest with you, I kind of like those kind of games more than some of the, more mature games, because there's a lot of times there's really no point to some of those games, but there have been some good ones. But I just thought that was weird that people made such a big deal about Nintendo's quote unquote image of being family friendly. I'm like, well, what's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think, and like I said, it clearly showed because some of their games, as throughout Nintendo's GameCube's run, and it had some of the most best-selling games of all time. And like, yeah, I mean, it didn't have like, I mean, Halo did pretty good when it came out on Xbox, but if we're talking like long-term system games, GameCube did a great job.
Yeah, and they had two characters that really helped create that. Which, and to be fair, to especially with PlayStation, I don't remember Xbox ever really having many kid friendly stuff, but PlayStation had Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot. So there's nothing wrong with having a game that people can like and you can play with your kids. I just don't understand. Like, I just always thought that was a weird thing that people made, especially back then, where I'm like, well, yeah, you can have mature games, but having fun games like that, it, I just don't understand why people think they made such a big deal about it back then. But maybe I'm just overthinking. But speaking of two icons that were very kid friendly and definitely helped out Nintendo, they made their their appearances during the GameCube's run, and I'm talking about The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker and Super Mario Sunshine. Two very good games, might I add.
Yes, they were. Like, and but they also kind of showed that they could be a little different because what made those games different? Because if you go back to like we'll start off with Mario because he's awesome. Like with Super Mario Sunshine, it was completely different from like previous Mario games. Like if you go back to like especially like to the Nintendo 64, it was still like just jumping around, going to these worlds and all that stuff here. Now you have like this device that shoots water to deal with these gooey mud monsters, and you can use it in ways to help battle them and help save the island where you're going. So the gameplay was a little different from previous Mario games.
I think it, no, well, without question, it was definitely different. And to be honest with you, I kind of felt like it was an underrated Mario game. I mean, Mario 64, in my opinion, was arguably the greatest, Mario game ever. And I still think that. But I think with Sunshine, I think Mario Sunshine was kind of the setup to what we saw in later games, like Mario Galaxy. I think Nintendo at this point were kind of experimenting ideas, what they can do with the 3D world. And I
Yeah.
think this was kind of the start of it. But I think it's a very underrated game. I think it's definitely fun to play. And I love the whole concept of it. And speaking of, you know, underrated, when Legend of Zelda Wind Waker first came out and they saw the trailer of like what it's going to look like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of caught off guard by what it looked like.
Yeah, like, no, I hear you. I was the same. Like a lot of people, I mean, obviously there was a lot of negative comments about it because, like, why would you make it look so cartoonish? Because if you go back and you look at the original, like Legend of Zelda's debut and throughout its whole history, that was like everyone didn't really wasn't okay with that. But then once the game came out and people started playing it, it stayed true to what Legend of Zelda was, as and did pretty well for itself.
I mean, well, without question, but I think also too, I think it had to fall, even though I think it was a fun game. I think it definitely had pressure because it was coming after the Ocarina of Time game, which many people still to this day think is the best Zelda game of all time. So, yeah, good luck trying to follow that.
Yeah, that's true. So
But I will say though, they are critically acclaimed games, but I think people were just kind of caught off guard by it. But I think also too, like this was also part of the growing popularity of the GameCube. It was slowly working its way up. And another game that I thought, and to be honest with you, I kind of want to get your opinion on it because I think it still could be a cool feature even to this day, but we haven't seen it in a while. Mario Kart Double Dash.
oh yes, it was one of the. It was the first time like in this game, like you had like the traditional Mario Kart gameplay, but this time like you added a new feature where you get to choose like obviously you get to choose who your main character is, and you get to choose what partner you want in the race car, or and you can switch between them. So one could be the driver and one could be the item thrower, or to allow like adding more details of the gameplay. And I actually thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, like I kind of mentioned earlier, like how comes they never tried to bring that feature back? Like it doesn't have to be an actual game; it could just be like a feature in some of the newer games. Because especially now with online play being as big as it is now, I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't tried to build that.
Well, I'm sure they have their reasons. I'm sure they would probably bring it back if fans wanted it. Like, because I always thought it was a cool feature, but that doesn't mean a lot of other people wanted it back.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair. And speaking of Mario, there was a ton of Mario games during this time period, my twin, and really all of them were fun to play, like Mario Golf, the Toadstool Tour, Mario
Mario
Party. Yeah, Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7. You have Mario Power Tennis. And of course, Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door, made its appearance in the game. But the one I kind of want to talk about a little bit, and I think it's another underrated game, really series, and that's Luigi's Mansion made his debut.
That's right. Like Luigi, he's terrified of ghosts, but he has to save Mario. This was definitely like, I definitely think this game, that series was like one of the best moments for Luigi because as it gave him a chance to shine in all these other games when Mario is still running like as the top gaming character of all time. So to have like this little like, I guess I wouldn't call it a spin-off. Off, I guess you could call it that if you want, but like with this game, it allowed him to have his own adventures. It gave introduced new characters, and it was done pretty good. I thought the soundtrack was great, the levels were well done, and it was good gameplay. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and to me, I don't know, just the whole concept of Luigi of all people trying to hunt ghosts. I don't know, just something about it's kind of funny, but there's definitely a charm to it. And it was actually one of the first Nintendo games for the GameCube that launched with the system. So it definitely has a place, and it's cool to see it come out with some new games every once in a while with it. It's been a
Yeah,
while. It's been a while since we've had games like that. But another game that I love to play on the GameCube, and I wish they'd have it more, and that's F-Zero.
yeah, it was like that. It was that. Wait, F Zero was that sci-fi racing game, right?
Yes, it was Captain Falcon and the Blue Falcon.
Well, I remember playing that. I remember playing the demo, and like it was an okay game, but I think like the controls weren't always that good in the racing and all that stuff. So I think I can see why no one wanted to have another game of that.
Personally, I think I think it was more the fact that you had a tough time handling a 1,000 mile an hour vehicle. It definitely the controls can be tough, but when you're going over 1,000 miles an hour, I think it's understandable. But honestly, I really love that game. That was so much fun. It kind of makes you wish you lived long enough to be in the future and you can join the racing league like that.
Yeah,
But another game, and honestly, I haven't seen one of these games in a while. Well, but personally, one of my favorite characters was the Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube. It came out in 2002. Star Fox is an underrated character in my humble opinion, and I don't understand. Maybe it's just not as popular as I like it to be, but I really love the Star Fox games, and I kind of wish we had more Star Fox games.
well, I believe they have a new Star Fox game coming out for the new Nintendo system, but no, I actually really like that game because I think it was like the first time like I think that Star Fox game for the GameCube was like the first they ever had like you're in a jet, you're a sci-fi jet and doing out air missions, but then you can go down to the ground on foot, like and do missions from there. So it was a very interesting game, and I loved the cutscenes and the graphics were great. It, the controls were good, and I love their stories that they put in that game. So I thought it was definitely a very underrated game.
Yeah, and then I mentioned it earlier, my twin. Let's kind of talk about some of the mature games that were on the system. The first one I really enjoyed, and to be honest, I kind of think it's an underrated series myself, and that's Metroid Prime.
Oh yes, it was the first person shooter, or or where you're playing as a space bounty hunter, or I believe in
Yeah,
Samus, and you're trying to explore fighting all these evil alien creatures. I really enjoyed it because like you can use like wasn't Wait, Samus was the one where like you had the ability to turn like into this giant sci-fi ball, and you could just run in through like these tunnels, right?
Yeah, you would be correct. And it basically, and we should probably also bring this up real quick too. Well, at the time, there was more like if you wanted to play a certain game, you had to buy the system because it was basically Xbox games were only for Xbox. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it
exclusive.
was exclusive.
And so to get back to where I was going, Metroid Prime was basically kind of like Nintendo's answer to like, the kill zones for the PlayStation. And then you have Halo with the Xbox. So that's kind of what Metroid Prime was. And it was a fun game. And to be honest with you, I thought it was really fun, especially because people got to remember it was a first person shooter, but it started off as a side scroller. So
Yeah,
it
like
was
most Nintendo's games, they start off as side scrollers.
yeah, and like so it definitely it was definitely a lot of fun to play that game and to see it go in a first person perspective. I thought it was pretty cool, and it was the first time Metroid used a first person perspective. But what a lot of people may not know, and this is a little bit different, but the Game Boy Advance came out 25 years ago as well. It was it came out along with Metroid Fusion, which went back to that old side scrolling thing. So for those that like the side scrollers, there you go. That was pretty fun to play, and that, like I said, that game was a lot of fun.
No, it was. It was definitely a lot of there too. I believe there was also some sort of puzzle solving in the game as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely puzzle solving because it is Nintendo. But another game that definitely brought out the mature audience was arguably, in my opinion, one of the best fighting games and fighting game franchises ever. The Soul Calibur 2 game came out for the GameCube.
That's right.
Well,
I think it was the first time. I believe it was the first time that game ever came out was on the GameCube.
no, I think that was one of the rare games that had well, it came out for all three systems at that time, but what each had it unique, it had your own Pacific character you could play, but you had to play it on that system.
Yeah,
Like
like I think it was Link if you had GameCube.
for the GameCube's case, you had Link to play as. So that was a lot of fun game. And like I said, a very underrated game, but a one that really kind of surprised me. And I think a lot of people as well in terms of like horror and scary and like mature games. Eternal Darkness. Wow. That game was that blew me away. Like kind of like Resident Evil 4. One, I was surprised Nintendo had that. And two, like it was really good. Like Eternal Darkness was absolutely insane. And the fact that it came out on the GameCube and it was so much fun to play, I think it was quite an achievement in my humble opinion.
Well, it was definitely an incredible. Like it was like had like a psychological thriller to it. Like it was just so well done, and they had like again like a lot of like Resident Evil it had a good soundtrack. Like the
And
pacing
I
was great, and they had good characters in it.
and I love the concept of the sanity meter, I believe it was called, where like if you let it go down too far, it could mess with you and you think, wait, I just died. But then all of a sudden you're like, woof, you came back, you're like, oh, it's just a trick. I was like, whoa, that was really cool how they did that, especially in such a small system that the GameCube was.
No, it was definitely one of their best games. It was a very underrated game, but no, it was so they did a lot of good with this system, dude. Like I wish it was still around, but
Well, well, it definitely is still around. I mean, mainly because some people still have it. And honestly, I still wish we had our GameCube. That was honestly, I kind of wish we still had it really badly because so many fun games came out. And honestly, it was probably one of my favorite systems.
oh, definitely one of my favorite systems of all time when it comes to video games.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm looking at some of these games right now because there's so many games that you could play on there that I wish more people would, get more recognition. For example, the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron had two games come out for the GameCube.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those. It was kind of late in the system's run. I also really liked Aggressive Inline. That was probably one of my favorite games along with the Tony Hawk stuff. Like the aggressive inline was a lot of fun. You had like the All-Star baseball game. And there were some other ones. Well, there was not so good ones. Remember
Uh,
Aquaman Battle for Atlantis?
yeah, grief. Look, I
Like,
respect the comic book cutscenes, but good grief. Have they not learned from Superman?
it basically was Superman, but it's just they switched it to Aquaman.
Good grief.
That game absolutely was terrible. It was
Oh,
bad.
yeah, it was. It was horrible. But like back to like with Jimmy Neutron, I believe the Nicktoons Unite game was on the GameCube.
Not sure, but before we real quick get to that, do you remember the Backyard Sports series that you had on that?
Oh yeah, the backyard football, baseball. Yeah, a lot of good ones there. I really enjoyed. My favorite had to be the backyard football because you can customize your own characters. You can just pick randomly like what team you want them to be and all that, and it was so good.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, my twin. That featured the debut of Nicktoons Unite, which that game was a lot of fun to play. Underrated, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, like I believe they made a bunch of other games from it afterwards, but I just really enjoyed the concept of different like characters from Nickelodeon coming together, or and just having like an adventure, or, like trying to save their worlds. Old, it was so well done. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then also too, I will say they stayed true to the characters. Like that was like in my opinion, like so much fun and how they were able to pull that off so well. And oh geez, Boulder's Gate also was also on the GameCube. I forgot about that one.
Oh, I didn't know it was on that.
And here's another game. I don't know many people may like this, but do you remember Beyblade V Force?
Yes, I do. It was where you can customize your own Beyblade and stuff like that, and you actually try to like you battle other people like you're doing like a real life Beyblade tournament.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And you talk about a cool soundtrack. That had a fun soundtrack.
No, I don't remember all the songs, but it was definitely a pretty good game. Like I can see why some people didn't like it because it's like if you wanted to use Beyblades, just use the real ones. Why would you want to make a video game?
Yeah, no, exactly. And oh, and speaking of fun and cool games that for mature audiences, Blood Rain was also on the GameCube. I love that game.
No, it was pretty good. Like you were playing. Obviously, it was a third person perspective, and you were playing like this vampire lady who was trying to stop the forces of evil from bringing the world into eternal darkness. Which I thought was pretty good. I believe
Yeah,
that was that the first time that was that the first game ever for when it was on the GameCube, or it had been done before?
Blood Rain.
Yeah.
That was probably one that had like multiple because it came out, I think, after. I'm trying to remember. Let me see here real quick. Yeah, it came out. Yeah, it came out for all systems. It was one of those rare games that came out for all systems, at least back in those days. And here's a fun game, Chad. I think another underrated game. Carmen Sandiego, the Secret of the Stolen Drums.
Oh, that's right. I only remember the computer game. I completely forgot it was on the GameCube.
Yeah, that was a pretty decent game. I thought it was pretty good, and actually another one of those games that I thought was really fun to play, and I played it a lot. Well, actually, I played both of them, but Call of Duty Finest Hour and Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1 were on the GameCube.
Oh, that's right.
Those
Like, weren't they both World War II story games?
Yes, this was when Call of Duty was still kind of in World War II before it kind of became what it is now.
Yeah. No,
Don't get me wrong,
I enjoyed that game because I think that's another reason why I like the GameCube so much because it allowed you to like even after you beat the game, you can go back and redo a stage or a level again after you beat it. And I always enjoyed that.
yeah, and then speaking of which, I wanted to tell you this. Here's a couple of games that on paper probably seem like a good idea, but didn't turn out too well. The first one's Catwoman.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that. Like
And
that,
this,
the gameplay was bad, and like the control, like the weren't there like a bunch of glitches or something in the game?
there was plenty wrong with that. You're better, probably easier to pick what was right about that game. And another one that it certainly disappointed me because I love the concept of it, of the show, Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, that game looked like it was rushed. Like they didn't have like a good enough story and like gameplay. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Game was just flat out terrible. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah,
There's
I don't know what they were thinking with that.
oh, and here's one you and I played a lot. Remember Cubics?
Oh yes, Cubics robots for everyone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that
I remember that. Like they had like adventure and then they had like battle mode where you would like fight other robots.
yeah, that was a fun game. And oh gosh, I forgot all about this. Remember the Disney Sports?
Oh yeah, that was wow, that was a long time ago. I don't remember playing those games much.
Oh, another underrated game, which I can understand why many people didn't want to play it because it was um it was kind of hard to do because you have to buy another controller for it. But I had a fun time with it. Do you remember Donkey Kong Jungle Beat?
Yeah, because it was like they had like those controllers like bongo drums, and you were trying to like get like all these bananas and deal with enemies and stuff.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, that game. That game was. I think that was an underrated one. That was so much fun. Excuse me to play. Uh, it's just and the music too that you play it as. That was so fun. That really was like that was a lot of fun. That that game.
no,
I
it
wish
was
people
definitely
got
one
to-
of a very underrated game. I I think another thing about like again like it had like a lot of didn't they have like a bunch of Donkey Kong games for the GameCube?
They did. They had a decent amount. It wasn't like a whole lot, but another game that I really enjoyed playing on the system. Oh, I forgot FIFA Street. That's where they kind of debuted during that time period. I forgot all about that one. And Fight Night Round Two, probably one of my favorite boxing games ever. That was on the system. That was a lot of fun. And another underrated game, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. That wasn't a bad game.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever played Fire Emblem. It was a really good game. Like, and I'm glad to see what it's become now and with a recent Nintendo system.
Yeah, and it's nice to see games like that. I think I wish more games would get recognition like that, but and and actually I kind of want here's another one that came out for the GameCube and some of the other systems as well. Remember GoldenEye Rogue Agent?
Yes, we were playing as a character who joins up with some of the Bond villains. It's, and you have like a golden eye, mechanical biological eye there to help you out with details of your missions and stuff.
Yeah, like no, I definitely agree with that, but it was kind of like a hit and miss game for me personally because I enjoyed it, but I can see why a lot of people were not really a fan of the game. I
Yeah.
can totally see it. Another one I actually played, and you might be surprised by this one, Chad. Do you remember Harry Potter, the Quidditch World Cup game?
Oh, I really enjoyed that game because you get to choose what team you're on, and you had to like try and get obviously you try to score a goal here and then also catch the goal for there to win the game, or technically just win a bunch of points. Because there are times where I scored enough points where even if they got the golden or no, I still won. I was beating them
Well,
by a mile.
yeah, and I will say this another game, and I kind of wish, and I think this is kind of an underrated, not only video game, but tabletop game, and I wish to get more recognition. Hunter of the Reckoning.
I don't really know much about that game because I never played it.
That game was a lot of fun. I honestly thought that game, and I think even the tabletop version of Hunter of the Reckoning is very good and underrated, in my humble opinion.
Uh,
Oh, that's right. I forgot. There's plenty of James Bond movie games in here, and I kind of like three of the four.
yeah, I believe one of them was Everything or Nothing.
Yes, it was.
Now
Yes, it
that had like
was.
one of the best. It had like a James Bond theme like intro to the video game. I thought it was so good. I enjoyed it very much. It was like I loved some of the games. I love some of the action scenes they put into it. they did a really good job with that game.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think, I mean, of course, Pierce Bondsman was the James Bond we grew up on, being a '90s kid. But I honestly think Everything or Nothing might have been his best performance as James Bond. This is just my humble opinion, of course, but I thought he did a really good job in that game.
No, I think he did a fantastic job as well. I think it was like it just had like the Bond theme to it, but also allowed you to be like, have like the better attempt with the gadgets and stuff that they did it from previous Bond films. It was so pretty good. Oh, there! Like, I remember one scene. I can't remember where it was, but you were like in a racing scene where you're in like some
Oh,
race.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're trying to get to the main villain played by William Defoe, who did an amazing job.
Yeah. Oh, now that I remember, it was such a good intro. But who sang the intro to the game again? Everything or Nothing.
It was Maya.
Maya. Okay, she had an
Also
incredible
played, she did an amazing job of the intro, and she also played an NSA agent that Bond had to help rescue. But going down the list here of games, my twin, and here's another one that I really enjoyed playing a lot because back in the day I was a huge fan of Jeremy McGrath, and he came out with Jeremy McGrath Supercross World. That was a pretty fun game. I loved playing those dirt biking games. And here's one, an underrated game in my opinion. Another one of those underrated games called Knights of the Temple Infernal Crusade. Do you remember that game, my twin?
Yeah, so that was a long time ago. I haven't thought about that game in years. I think they only made one game. I don't think they made any more from that one.
Well, yeah, at least in this generation of systems, they made one. It was definitely the soundtrack, the story is just all of it was just really, really good. And definitely an underrated game in my opinion. But let's talk about a game, my twin, that you and I really enjoyed, and that was on the GameCube, and we played that game for hours. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe. Does the name Kirby Air Ride sound familiar to you?
Yes. Oh my God, you're right. We played that game for hours. Oh, that was so much fun. And, like I remember we used to find like the secret tunnels and go in there and find all these awesome rides. And then we would go to a random sports event and compete, see who could do a little better on it. That was so much fun. That was probably like one of the best games I've ever played in my life.
Yeah, and a lot of people criticized it for its simplicity, but honestly, I think that's one of the things that made it special. It was just supposed to be something fun,
Oh,
which
100% was fun. Like the music was good. Like you could run around and just get items and stuff, leading up to events, get new rides, upgrade your one you had already. It was fun. Like it was definitely like one of the most enjoyable games you'll ever play in your life. Like, and yeah, it was simplistic, but it was also very addictive. Like you could just get hooked on it real quick and just enjoy for days on end.
yeah, and to be honest with you, when we watched the Nintendo director showcasing some of the new games for the at the time before it launched the Nintendo Switch 2. And one of the games that kind of caught me off guard was Kirby Air Riders. I was like, holy crap, they're making a sequel.
No, that was awesome. Like I was like excited for that because again, like it was simple, but it was so addictive, and you can just enjoy the game and have fun, and you don't have to worry about doing much of anything. You're just out there just to enjoy a game, and I think that was the whole point.
Well, and I think, and to be fair though, I think what also might have people had a tough time really getting behind it because it came out during the GameCube time, which also had F Zero, and then you had Mario Kart Double Dash. So it had some tough competition to face within its own thing.
No, you would be correct, Mike Twain, on that. But I definitely see it as one of the best games of all time for the Nintendo GameCube.
Well, I know you definitely really enjoyed it, and holy crap, I remember. Oh, that's right, they remastered Ocarina of Time as well for the GameCube as well. And actually, Chad, another game that you and I played a lot, mainly because we're pro wrestling fans, but Legends of Wrestling 1 and 2 came out for the GameCube.
That's true. I enjoy both those games. Like I played Legends of Wrestling 2 more than one because it came because we didn't get a chance. We couldn't afford the first one at the time, and the second one was already coming out. But
Right.
it was definitely fun. Like I don't know if you remember this. They happened on YouTube, like where they would have like a Royal Rumble moment, and all of a sudden they would just leave the ring, get eliminated by the next person that would come out.
Oh, you're talking about New Legacy Inc. when we were watching that.
Yeah, like that happened to us before too when they had like a Rumble.
Yeah,
Um,
that was pretty
it's like
funny.
a limbo line of elimination.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. I enjoyed the crap out of that. That was I almost had to throw up because I was laughing so hard. But
Oh,
actually, speaking of games, because you know how we're also big into anime and all that stuff, Chad. A game that probably didn't get enough attention, but I thought it was really, really good. Remember Metabots?
oh yeah, no, like, I remember playing the demo of that. That was a lot of fun. I just think it was yeah, it was just like not. I just think that they could have done a little more for the game. Like they had some good ideas, but then I feel like the game kind of missed their shot on some of the things they could have done with it, like more creative features, different style gameplay. I think they could have done. There was there were so many things against that game that it didn't work out.
Oh yeah, and plus you got to understand there was a lot of other big anime things going on at the time as well. And speaking of which, Mega Man, remember all the Mega Man games they got on here?
Oh,
And
jeez, I couldn't even tell you all them all.
a lot of them were collections too. And you got Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes. Remember the Twin Snakes?
Yeah, I was shocked that they had that on the GameCube.
Well, like we said, it was one of those games that were like, oh wow, they came out with a mature version, but it turned out pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it did pretty well too. Obviously, there wasn't like blood or something like that, like in past games. It was just more like sweat or something. Because again, it was still Nintendo.
Yeah, and speaking of blood and guts, Mortal Kombat, Deadly Alliance, and Deception both came out on the GameCube.
Oh yes, it was definitely. It was still a pretty good fighting game, even though it wasn't as brutal as like the other. If you played it on the other systems, you'd see a lot of blood and a lot of blood and destruction. But for the Nintendo GameCube, it was definitely like it was still a pretty good fighting game, even though you didn't have those other features.
Oh, you had those features in the game. It's just like you said, they weren't as popular on the GameCube as say the other games
Yeah.
in its history. But yeah, definitely a lot of I can't believe how many sports games I could have sworn there weren't as many, but there were plenty of sports games on the GameCube as well.
No, definitely. There was a lot of good games.
Yes, and here's here's another one, my twin. Do you remember Pokemon Coliseum?
Yes, that was a pretty good one there. I mean, it was kind of hard and difficult to play sometimes because you kind of had to like go from one location to another back and forth all the time and you didn't really know where to go. So it was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. Red Faction 2, probably one of my personal favorite games. Because that was such a fun game, which, truth be told, Chad, man, Red Faction was the same people that eventually created Saints Row.
Oh yeah. Oh, man, that game was weird.
Oh, I forgot, along with Resident Evil 4, they had a lot of remakes come out at that time too. Like the original Resident Evil had a remake. They had they brought in Resident Evil 2 and 3 as well, all given like, makeovers and all that stuff.
Like an updated look.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Huh. That's right, Rocket Power. Rocket Power was a fun game.
Yes. Yes. No, you could play as each character and you can do all these different sports. It was pretty good.
Yes, and they got I forgot about the Rocky fighting game.
I don't remember much of the Rocky game.
Well, because to be fair, when it comes to boxing games, I was playing a lot of Fight Night, so yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't really see much of that. Oh man, A lot of them. Oh, that's right. Another games we like to play. You had The Simpsons Hit and Run and Simpsons Road Rage.
Oh my god, like Simpsons. Well, Simpsons Hit and Run was a sequel, right? Road Rage was first.
Road Rage was first.
I mean, I loved Road Rage, but like Hit and Run was like the one of the best. You had all these different cars, or you could play as different characters. It was so much fun. It was definitely one of my favorite games to play, and that was like just like Kirby Air Ride. We played that game for hours too. Like holy cow, it was funny.
It was, and talk about games you get to play forever. One of my favorite series, kind of an underrated series in my humble opinion, The Sims. They had The Sims 1 and 2. They had remember The Sims Busting Out. That was kind of a fun game.
Yeah, that was the one where you get to choose like either you make up your own family or just pick a precursor family, and you can just pick a house, build a house, and like go around and like just do like everyday life, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I always really loved that game. I really did. I thought The Sims was such a fun game. And of course, being a Dreamcast fan, Skies of Arcadia Legends came out. I thought that was really cool. And of course, Sonic Adventure 2. And they remade the Sonic Adventure games for the GameCube, which Sonic was such a fun game in my opinion and so much fun to play. So I thought that was really cool that the GameCube did a little remake of them for their system.
No, I thought the remake was great, and I love the fact that they kept some of the original songs from the soundtrack. Like I think obviously like I still love the first level of Sonic Adventure 2 from there where like he's like skate snowboarding right down the city roads and streets being chased by a giant truck. Oh my god, that was
The
great.
Big Rig, yeah, I love that part. I also liked Sonic Heroes wasn't too bad. I thought that was a pretty good Sonic game.
Yeah, like it was like you were playing as both Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and I think you were trying like you each had to play a different character to get a certain object done or
Yeah,
objectives.
yes, and hey, my twin, I know this game here is really not just game, but character is someone near and dear to your heart. But remember Spider-Man 1 and 2 games?
Yes, oh my god, I enjoyed those games very much. That's and the fact that they had Tobey Maguire, the original actor, in it in the game, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I definitely thought it definitely served well too. And it was fun to play too because remember this was like the early days of Marvel hit making big massive hits for like movie wise. So this was before like the MCU. So looking back and seeing how that movie was, which was a very good movie, and then you got the games to go along with them, and they were just as fun too. So I was like, wow, there's if back then Marvel, it was almost like they couldn't miss back then.
No, they did do such a good job with those games. Like, I mean, I did struggle a little bit with it, but overall, it was so much fun games to play.
And absolutely, and it was definitely. I thought, like you said, I thought it was very well done, and it just I don't know, man. I kind of miss it. Oh, I remember the snowboarding game. Remember SSX?
Yes, I have a love hate for that game. I enjoy some of the gameplay, but I hated the wipeouts.
Well, you could have just gotten good, my twin.
Hey, I've gotten good on that. There were just times where I felt like I landed and then it said I crashed. It didn't make any sense.
Oh, this. I wonder if they did they ever make any more of these games, but the Super Monkey Ball games were pretty fun.
No, actually, I don't think they have. And as like I remember them on the GameCube, but I don't remember if they still make them or not.
Oh, those were kind of an underrated games. They were simple but yet challenging because you had to like balance yourself and try to get to the goal without falling off.
Yeah.
Oh, and I haven't heard this character in a while. Do you remember talking the power of Juju?
Yeah, see, he was supposed to be like a shaman of some kind from I think it was like a Nickelodeon show.
I believe it was. Yeah, I think it did become eventually a Nickelodeon show, but yeah, no, there was definitely some good ones. Do you remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes, I remember. I remember a
Those,
lot of
those
them.
were
I think there
those
was
were fun
one.
games.
Yeah, that was a good game. I think there was one based off the 2003 cartoon series. I
There
think
was
it was
three
called
of them.
like wasn't there? I think there was one called Battle of the Nexus.
No, it's just Battle Nexus. Yeah, that was the second one. That was fun.
No, I remember that pretty well too, and I actually enjoyed the fact that they used some of the old like cutscenes from the cartoon itself into the game. I always thought that was great.
Yeah, and I said like you said, it was based off the 2003 series, and honestly, the 2003 cartoon is arguably a fun one to watch. I'd rewatch that just like the original series.
Oh yeah, they did a fantastic job with that game and the TV show. It was so well done.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about Teen Titans.
Well, I'm not surprised because we didn't play much of that game. I remember playing the demo, but the whole game itself, we never got a chance to play it.
I will say they had Terminator 3 Redemption in it. Oh, Time Splitters 1 and 2. That's kind of an underrated game. And oh, I forgot about the Tom Clancy games.
No, I only remember one of the games. I don't remember all the games they had there because I don't think they were all made to GameCube.
Oh no, there was a bunch of them that played. There's a bunch of them in the Tom Clancy games in the GameCube. There was Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, and well, we remember more Splinter Cell in that game because that was a fun series, Splinter Cell.
Yeah, I think we played more of that on the GameCube than we did the others.
Oh geez, I forgot about these ones too. Remember the Tony Hawk's Underground?
Yes, no, that was a lot of fun. You can create your own skater, make your own skate park. Dude, that game was so much fun to play. Great music, thick. Like I believe there was a story mode.
Yeah, there was. You can either be with Bam Margera or Tony Hawk's team, and you kind of switch between both back and forth throughout the game story mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Oh geez, we we're definitely going to be nerds here when we say this, but here's a game that we played a lot too. Too was, do you remember Ultimate Muscle?
Yes. Oh my god, we used to play that game all the time. I'm there like I remember because they had like the tag team feature. Like again, you can I believe that game you can create your own wrestler as well. Oh, but overall, like dude, you can play like all the different story modes. You had all these different wrestlers, special anime moves, and then the tag team stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a fun game, even though the series itself was kind of, out there wrestling wise. But honestly, I enjoyed it. But here's a couple other games that I thought were really good. We mentioned them earlier. Spider Man. Remember Ultimate Spider Man?
Yes, I was based off the more cartoonish comic version from the Ultimate Marvel comic series.
Looked good though. It was pretty cool. I love the design and artwork to it.
Yes, I believe you get to choose between like your regular Spider-Man and then the Venom suit. I believe.
Well, it's been a while since I saw that, but here's another game. I played this one a lot too, being the Sims fan. But remember the Herbs Sims in the City?
A little bit. That was a long time ago.
It featured the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, jeez.
That one was that one was actually really fun. I actually enjoyed it a lot. Now, here's a game too that I really liked, and I thought it was a very good series, and the whole concept of it was awesome. Remember Viewtiful Joe?
Yes, that was probably like a pretty good series within the GameCube. You used to play as a fan. You play as a fanboy who has to rescue his girlfriend there, and his favorite superhero. He becomes Beautiful Joe, and you get to control slow down time to fight off enemies and stuff.
To go faster, slow down.
Yeah, I enjoyed that game very much. It was definitely one of my all time favorites.
I wonder if they're gonna make any more, or if it's kind of more of like a cult following. Because I really enjoyed it. It was a simple side scroll beat 'em up that you gotta, really use your head and focus. But that Beautiful Joe was a very good concept, I thought.
No, it was definitely it was definitely a great concept, and I love the whole like old school like cartoonish look that it had. It was such a fun game to play. I definitely play it again if I could.
No, I would too because I thought it was really good. But here's a couple of games too, Chad. Us being pro wrestling fans. Remember Day of Reckoning 1 and 2, and also Crush Hour.
I don't know what their thought process was for Crush Hour.
Well, I think it was supposed to be Twisted Metal, and honestly, the story mode an idea wasn't a bad idea, but it just I don't know, it was just weird.
Was what WWE taking over network television in general?
Yeah, well, pretty much, but I just thought that
God.
was weird. And then another games that I thought we like. Remember the X-Men games?
Yes, I remember some of them. I don't remember all of them, but there was a lot of good ones there.
Well, I'm bringing this up because I remember playing X-Men Legends. Remember that one?
Yeah, I believe that's the one where you had to fight Apocalypse, had to team him up with the Brotherhood.
No. That was well, that's the second one. Yeah, not the first one.
I remember more of the second than the first one.
Oh, geez, I forgot all about uh, this one too. But it's been a while since I've seen the anime too. But remember Zoids? They had a couple of Zoid games.
Yes, I remember that because I remember we played the demo a lot. We could just customize one of your mechs into anything you want and just go into battle. Well, it was a very good game.
Yeah, and just a lot of those games, and then to go back. I mean, we can still find them if we can go through emulations nowadays, but that system, man, it's crazy to think 25 years ago it came out, and almost 20 years ago it went away. And honestly, Chad, looking back on the GameCube, what do you think was some of your favorite things about memory wise with when it comes to the GameCube?
Well, obviously, it's the reliability of the system, the fun games that you could play. And I also just love that intro to the GameCube when you turn it on. It's like, dun.
Yeah, it was a pretty good load up there. I will say that.
Yeah. But no, it was such a reliable system. And it was definitely, I'll always have a place in my heart for the GameCube. All the games that we played, it was such a fun time.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm with you. I think it was a perfect reliable. I wouldn't say it's a perfect system. It was more a reliable system compared to the Xbox and the PS2 at that time. But I think by the time this the sixth generation consoles ended, honestly thought the GameCube turned out to be the best system, at least in my mind, game wise. All the different games I got to play,
Oh, 100%. It
and
was definitely the best.
and without question, it just to me, I thought it was a perfect blend of like, yeah, you can play like the mature games, but it was also a lot of family friendly, fun games. It was just like a perfect blend of all different kinds of games. And I think to me, that's what, in my opinion, made Nintendo so good and put ahead of Sony and Microsoft at the time. And to be honest, I think that's kind of something I think is a little bit lost in video games nowadays. There was so much variety compared to it is nowadays,
Yeah. But
but I think that
it
was
was
what
definitely
made the
fun.
GameCube made the GameCube so special in my mind.
Yeah, so if you could make real quick one, Twin, if you could make a list of it doesn't have to be a long list. Like if you had a list of some of your favorite games from the GameCube, what would it be?
Wow, that'd be a tough one. That'd be a tough one. I mean, because if I go back, I wish there was ways I can go back and play them. But off the top of my head, I know Fight Night Round Two was definitely a fun game for me. Super Smash Brothers Melee was a lot of fun. I really liked oh geez, I gotta try to remember. It's hard to remember all these great games. Resident Evil 4, I gotta throw Resident Evil 4 in there. Metroid Prime, a lot of fun. A lot of fun with that game. And and as of right now, I would throw F-Zero in there as well.
I think for me, obviously, we Super Smash Brothers Melee, Resident Evil 4, Kirby Air Ride, the Tony Hawk Underground games, and I would have to say just the Mario games in general because there were so many good ones.
You didn't have shortage of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, especially when you have Mario Party.
Well, man, with all that being said, thank you for coming once again, coming down memory lane with me, my twin.
Oh, thank you for having me on, my twin.
Who knows? Maybe we'll come up with another uh, video game session to talk and nerd out again, huh?
No, definitely. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, but honestly, looking back on the GameCube, it was a lot of fun for me, and I know it was for you. And who knows, man? I mean, it's just kind of I kind of miss systems like that, honestly. And GameCube was definitely one of the best, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the all-time greatest game systems.
But once again, thank you so much, my twin, for coming on.
You're welcome, my twin.
And thank you all for watching. And I love you all. And God bless. Be safe, everybody.